So welcome to an episode of Leaving the Pack. I'm so glad to have with me today Ruben Boumtje-Boumtje, Georgetown basketball standout and former NBA player, and now head of league operations for the Basketball Africa League. So thank you so much for joining today.
Thanks for having me, Vina. How are you?
I'm so great and I'm so excited to talk to you about your journey. It's one that I've had the privilege to see parts up close and then have admired from afar. But really excited to just, chat about how you got to where you are today. So maybe we'll start from the beginning. So you were born in Cameroon. And so how did, ultimately sports was a major, took a major role in your life. But what was your early childhood like? Was that something that you always envisioned kind of being such a major part of your life?
Um, actually, no. So, I grew up in Cameroon. I came from a middle class family,
Hmm.
really. Like a lot of kids, just grew up playing soccer as much as I could, going to school, studying. It's always, this. In my family, at least I think a lot of family, it was education first. It was academic first. Coming
Absolutely.
from a third world country, is kind of for most people, if you want to succeed, that's where the emphasis need to be.
Hmm.
And it was a little easier for me because I love school. I love to learn stuff. And I wanted to be different things growing up. I wanted to be a pilot as a kid and an engineer. Then at the end, it was a doctor that I wanted to be. And sports wise, because I was playing soccer, but I was taller than most of my friends,
Hmm.
and I kept getting taller. And I think when I was 14, I decided I couldn't play soccer anymore. I was just too tall and I was
Oh, wow.
falling on my hips. It was too
Oh,
far.
no.
Uh, so I stopped playing soccer when I was 14. My older brother was playing volleyball. I got a little bit of interest in volleyball. It was kind of just something we're doing at home, just for
Yeah.
fun. But then a friend of mine introduced me to basketball. He actually was playing basketball. He was at the time the only one who was taller than me. And
And at this time, are you about 14 and how
I'm
tall?
15. At this time, I'm 15. And it piqued my interest. I went to a practice and I went home. I told my mom I need a basketball, and she's like, "What is that?" Like,
That is
so
so funny.
I didn't myself know anything about basketball, beforehand. It was not a popular sport.
Sure.
Um, so that's why I started basketball when I was 15.
And you're like
But
6 feet what at this point, or are you already past 7?
so yeah, I mean, I had a really big growth spurt when I was 15. I always taller than everyone, except a couple of friends. But when I was 15, after school, in a span of 3 months, I don't remember exactly, since I went from 6'4" to 6'10" in like
Oh
three
wow. You
months.
like the minute you held a basketball, it just went like,
Yeah, it was really unbelievable. And now I was like the tallest person around, the tallest kids, and
wow.
then trying to learn basketball at the same time. But I stay with basketball despite my father reluctance.
Did he want you to just
Because
focus on academics
yes,
or
yes,
yeah,
he wanted me just to focus on academics. He didn't know what basketball was. It wasn't something you heard people
sure.
were going to, I don't know, the
Yeah, you
US or
couldn't
play
see like the
professional.
path forward in that
Yeah.
way.
So essentially, I had to demonstrate to him that I could still be a good student, to pursue those dreams and play basketball. So thanks for being a bit stubborn at that age. Yeah, and that's how my life became a mix of really academics and basketball.
Yeah, so that's amazing. So when you went to Georgetown, I guess we were witnessing like in actuality some of your first years of playing basketball. Because if you really started at 15, or some kids were starting at 3, like in at that level of sports. What was it like for you then to kind of jump into such a, obviously well-renowned basketball program at kind of the early stage of kind of learning a sport in many ways?
Yeah, no, it was, when I left Cameroon, I still remember when I got on the plane, I was so stressed. I did not sleep the entire journey because in my mind, I was just thinking, I don't know what to expect. I don't know how good I am compared to the US players, right? When you
Sure.
see tapes of NBA players, obviously it wasn't the NBA. And most important to me was I was like, my parents can afford to send me to college, so I had to figure something out when I'm there to
Yeah,
be good enough that I can go to college for free.
right.
And it was, I mean, I can never forget it because it was in my mind the whole time, the whole journey to the US. So I went to high school in Washington, D.C., Archbishop Carroll High School for a year. And it wasn't until I got there, maybe 2 or 3 weeks after I got to DC, and there was summer runs at Georgetown, and I was
Hmm.
asked to go just to, play. That it kind of eased my mind because I think when I got there, I was playing against Georgetown player at the time, so other players from the area,
Yep.
and I kind of felt like, okay, I think I have a, a
Yeah.
bit of a chance
There's
here.
a chance.
Yeah, but it was definitely stressful from that standpoint. Also, just the cultural shock
Of
to be in the
course.
US, a different environment. At the same time, I was learning English already in school in Cameroon, but I wasn't like speaking at home.
Okay.
So learning the language, and then I realized there's also slang
Oh,
among that
yeah, on top of
stuff.
that.
Yeah, on top of that, and the American food and when school started, even basketball, it was practice almost every day, which I wasn't used to. So there was a lot of change, but I was also fortunate I had an American host family that really took care of me there and kind of helped me navigate
Yeah.
that ecosystem a little bit. So, but yeah, it's good old days.
And so, knowing that academics was so important, obviously, to you personally, because you love learning, but also to your family. And then, you're trying to also come to school for free. And you've come to a school like Georgetown, which is both known for its academics and basketball. And I remember, I think you were pre-med, right? Like you ultimately
Yes,
majored, did you major in mathematics and bio?
mathematics. Yeah.
Okay, in mathematics, which isn't exactly like the typical athlete major, right? Because your schedule is so intense. But so can the academics be at Georgetown, right? And especially majoring in mathematics. Like if for someone that is doing nothing but studying, that would be a challenging major. Like, how did you balance being like a student athlete while still pursuing, a passion of yours, which was also learning?
Yeah, I always like to say that I had no life.
No,
Just-
because were you an organic chemistry
I
tutor?
was in organic chemistry, yes.
Which was also at the time, like, I remember when we went to school, it was like the number two hardest class in the country behind Harvard, like microeconomics. So,
Yeah, it was it was so difficult for me to take it during the regular semester that I had to take it over the summer.
yeah,
'Cause I just didn't have enough time to focus on it in basketball. But no, I think part of it was, even when I went to Georgetown, my focus was still I wanted to become a doctor, right? So it was like this is what I want to do because I did not know. I wasn't. It was never about becoming professional basketball players. Even when I got there, even when I
yeah,
got my scholarship to Georgetown, and then also I had a lot of injuries when I got to the US. So I wasn't betting on on basketball. So I felt
sure.
like I needed to do it. And I tell people sometimes my dad never asked me about basketball when I was at Georgetown. I think until my
Yeah,
junior
he's like,
year.
how's school going?
Yeah, it was just how school going. So And I always thought, like if I get a chance to play professional basketball, great. But if I don't, I need, to go that path of medical school that I wanted. So to me, Georgetown was that environment I was not going to miss to have, both
Yep.
um, um, possibility. So I wasn't trying to waste my time from an academic standpoint. It was like I need to make sure I do whatever I can and whatever sacrifice I need to do to be able to get this pre-med and math, degree, and then we'll see how the whole basketball things, go. So it obviously wasn't easy. I had a bit of a strategy. My first 2 years, I took a lot of summer classes to kind of
Hmm.
trying to offload some of my work during the semester.
Sure.
So the first 2 years were really hard, and kind of ease up a little bit my junior year. And then my senior year, I managed to take like four classes because I've taken so many classes over the
Wow.
summers
Yeah.
so that I can focus a little bit more. I have a little bit more time to myself and a little bit more time for basketball than maybe I was having my freshman year. And yeah, so, but it was a hard journey.
Yeah, and I think in all of that, right, you were named Big East Scholar Athlete, right, of the year,
My senior
your
year.
senior year, which is usually reserved for athletes in like non-televised sports because they usually have the bandwidth to do that. And I think you again spoke of your intention to go to medical school, like if the NBA, wasn't in your future. So it looks like it just kind of was such a passion of yours that, so many others may have not shared. Did that feel different, like being on the team, where you're truly balancing like wanting to succeed athletically, but obviously being part of your team and wanting them to succeed? Did you ever feel kind of like you were leaving that pack in some ways, or was it, well received?
No, I felt different for sure.
Yeah.
And also probably because everybody said it.
Yeah.
It was, no, we never had it somebody like this. It was from the teacher to the coaches to
Yeah.
my teammates. So I knew it was a different path. I'm sure if we're looking at it, so other people did something different. Maybe it wasn't pre-med math, but also took some, let's call them some hard major, trying to balance both. So I knew I was doing something different. And there's a couple of teammates I remembered, I won't bring the name up, who came to Georgetown after me and I think got a bit inspired by me, what I was
Oh, that's
doing, and
great.
actually decided to do business school and
Oh, that's
basketball
wonderful.
and other things instead of just maybe some classes that they really were not planning on doing. So I think inspired some of them. And yeah, I mean, I think to me, it until today it served me well. Yeah, it served me well in those sense.
Hmm.
But I know it's doable because I did it, and I know that
Yeah.
people have done it, throughout the years in other school, Georgetown or other school. It just come down maybe to what what somebody really wants to achieve, right?
Sure.
Like, and really putting the work and putting your heart, and just know it's going to be a lot of sacrifice that going to come
Yeah.
along the way if you're trying to achieve that.
Yeah. I mean, and obviously achieving your athletics, you still, dominated in many ways on the court. I think you ultimately ranked, right, fourth in all-time blocked shots, like behind Patrick Ewing, Alonzo Mourning, and Mutombo. Like, how did that feel, like at the end of your kind of basketball career at Georgetown to be, among some of the greats that kind of went through the program while also, accomplishing all of this academically?
No, I mean, very gratifying when I learned about it, years ago. I actually did not know that when I
Oh,
left
really?
Georgetown. I think it was a couple of years after I left Georgetown, somebody mentioned that to me. No, it was really what I could do best on the basketball court. It
Yeah.
was, playing defense and running and blocking shot. That's kind of what my forte was. So to be able to do that, and be among, all this great Hall of Famer from
Yeah.
Georgetown who done it is, it's great. And I think maybe a couple of us play only 3 years, actually, because I only played 3 years. So even
Hmm.
from that perspective is great. I'm glad and fortunate to have been able to do that and to still be, in this category
Yeah.
for Georgia.
So what was the decision like then ultimately like for you to pursue the MBA and I guess even conversations with your parents or like draft night, what did that feel like for you? Because you could have clearly gone in two very different directions. So if you thinking back, what was kind of some of those conversations or moments for you before you ultimately chose to pursue the MBA?
Yeah, it was more about I felt like if I was lucky enough to go to NBA, it was a one-time opportunity, right? It
Yeah,
was, and I thought I can always go to medical school after, or I can like, "Oh, I
sure.
can go to medical school after," but because I didn't grow up thinking I was be a professional basketball player, let
Yep.
alone an NBA
Yeah.
professional player, and I think, my years in the US and college and seeing from far how difficult it is to become one,
Hmm.
let alone to stay one for
Sure.
years, I just thought if I get a chance to play in NBA, I cannot pass that up. I do it and see how that works out. And if it
Hmm.
doesn't work out, in somewhere else with basketball or basketball stuff, at least I have a degree, I have a good
Yeah,
degree, I can pursue
absolutely.
medical school or somewhere else. So when I got drafted, it's a feeling that I don't know, you can't really describe it. I mean, it was one of those things like it felt surreal,
Yeah.
because I started just thinking about, the all the injuries I had, and I was redshirted my freshman year, and I broke my wrist. It was my foot, it was my knees, and
Wow.
still be able to get drafted. I mean, the second round and having the opportunity to make a team, it was just surreal. And
Hmm.
from somebody who started basketball so late, had just been in the
Sure.
US
Yeah.
for a few years, and knowing the number of players who just wanted an opportunity, so it was surreal. It was a blessing. I always look at it as a blessing.
Hmm.
It happens. Is I spent 3 years in the NBA. It's a blessing to me. It was a
Yeah.
blessing, and yeah, and it changed my life. It really changed my life, and had consequences until today of who I am, right? What my life had become. So,
And
yeah,
what was
it's a unique experience.
Yeah, and you went to the Portland Trailblazers, right? So even just that part of the country is so different. Like, coming from
Yes.
Cameroon to DC, and then now all of a sudden, like you're in the Pacific Northwest playing professional, basketball. So, like, what was that transition like for you? Like, come from going from college to the NBA and also just geographically, it's like such a different part of the country. How did that feel like for you?
Yeah, it was interesting. I've never been to that. I think I've been at far, but there was maybe Idaho. I think we were. But so Portland was Portland was interesting. I actually like it a lot. The one thing I did with Portland was the rain because it rained in Cameroon
Yeah.
all the time, so
Yeah.
that was comfortable. But a definitely different type of cultural vibe than Washington, D.C., for
Yes,
example,
absolutely.
different type of city. So the transition was fine because I think I went to a team that had a lot of veteran, and I think for the most part, I was really welcome, and they trying
Yeah.
to,
I mean, it was a
put
very
me in a good place.
interesting time on the
It
Blazers
was.
when you joined.
It was a very interesting time when I got there, yes. But away from, some of the things that were happening on the court or whatever, I think in the locker room, it was a bit of a different vibe, at least with some of them.
Yeah.
So they were welcoming for the most part. They wanted me to succeed and were trying to
Oh,
help
it's
me as
great.
much as possible. But it was also from a basketball perspective, it was a difficult situation for me to be in because it was such a team of veteran, established
Sure.
players at my position. So that, you know, was hard for me to try to break through.
Uh-huh.
But so it was a good experience. Again, to me, it was a blessing. I made the best out of it, and yeah. But Portland as a city, love it, love it. I got a chance to go back there a few years ago. It's changed, but yeah, definitely good city.
What was your like most memorable moment, like either on and off the court during your time in the NBA?
Just I think maybe my most memorable moment was my first game. So when I made the team, when they told me I made the team, I think it was just 2 or 3 days before we went to LA for our first game.
Wow.
And then and we're playing, and there was Shaquille O'Neal on the team and Kobe and all those
Oh my
guys.
gosh.
And we were losing the game. So towards the end of the fourth quarter, I don't remember, maybe 5 minutes left or something, and coach put me on the floor. And I get on the floor, and there's go Shaq is still on the court. So I have to guard him. So
The way to
yeah, it
start.
was it was a very memorable moment because a lot of things happened during the 1 minute or so that he was on the court. I think he was trying to do some move, and I went for blocking a shot. I think he wasn't happy that I even there.
He's like, how
And then
are
the
we
thing,
the same height or close? Like, when did this guy just
yeah.
start?
Or like this rookie is trying to block my shot or something. I think, and then he asked the ball for a second time and just trying to, dunk on everyone. But I never forget because my teammates were laughing. They were on the court with me. It was Gary Pippen and a couple of the guys, and they were laughing at me because I've never seen somebody who was, I mean, he was my height essentially, but like so much bigger and powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very memorable moment for me.
I mean, that's definitely a way to start, one of your first games. So you ultimately ended up retiring, right, due to a heart condition. Like, how did that moment change you? And was that something that you knew or like something that kind of came about during your time there?
Yeah, that was also a difficult part of my life. Because I was in Germany then, playing for Bayern Munich, and Um, I didn't know that I had this heart condition. When I was at Georgetown in the NBA, we always go through medical testing,
Sure.
and there's always, like athlete heart, especially taller, bigger guys, seem to be different from normal. They'll be the
Yeah.
bigger or whatever.
Right.
So I remember just getting a call after morning practice. I was home and they asked me to come to the office. And I got there, and
And how
then
many years were you playing in Germany at that
this
time?
is I think this was maybe my fifth year in
Okay.
Germany, fifth or sixth year. So this is 2011. Yeah, and then I come, and there is the GM and there is the doctor, and basically saying that they think I have this condition. Um in that their recommendation was that I stop playing, or that maybe I
Wow.
played in a lower level. Maybe they thought I wouldn't have to physically exercise myself that much. But yeah, it's one of those things that they give you the news and it's almost feel unreal, right?
Yeah, and
It's
like everything just changes in a
everything just
moment.
changes. So I think maybe the good thing was at that time I was thinking I may play maybe another year or two.
Okay. Yeah.
So fortunately, it was not the beginning of my career, so I think that helped a lot. And then, I got out of the office and just called my wife, and it was a lot of sadness.
Yeah.
But then we kind of start putting things in perspective, right? It's like, hey, it's so great that they found us
Yeah,
because
of
who
course.
knows what could have happened.
Right.
I could have gone, I had option to go in other countries then, and for some reason I decided to stay in Germany.
Hmm.
So I could have gone to a different team where maybe they wouldn't have done that kind of medical check and
Right.
something could have happened, right?
Yep.
And at this time I have a son and my wife is pregnant. So once we kind of come down, I say, okay, we're done. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna take a chance
Yeah.
here. I know I play long enough, or at least I never even thought I would play professional. It was 10 years of playing basketball professionally. And then I was at peace with that, really. It
Hmm.
changed that quickly, just
Hmm.
putting things in perspective and appreciate just the journey and the blessing of the time that I was able to play basketball and how it affect, me, my family and other people around me. So,
Hmm. And how different ultimately was playing like in a European basketball environment compared to your time in the US?
yeah, it's very different. The game is different. We just start there. It's I want to say we always it's a more team oriented kind of game. It's much more strategy. It's during the games or from a defensive standpoint or even offensively, it's more moving the ball as a team and finding all this open spot. I think some of it. I think it's probably because compared to the US players in general are a little more athletic.
Hmm.
It's a little more individual plays in the US because I mean, frankly, the one guy really good can do that and
Sure.
score. Right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're trying to win games. So from that standpoint, at least, 20 years ago, oh, it's been a long time, 30 years ago.
We don't need to
Uh,
talk about years.
yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it was more on that sense. I think the NBA game you see more. I think they've been an influence of European game in the NBA now. You see a little bit more team kind of work in the way that Europe does it. Not to say the
Hmm.
NBA never had it. So that's a big difference in terms of the game. But even things like infrastructure are different in Europe. Obviously, the culture is different and how you travel and all these
Right.
things. But it's good. It's really good. I think a lot of people who come to Europe enjoy it. Things have gotten better in Europe as well in terms of pay, actually getting paid. There's issue there as well, and hopefully less and less. But it's a different experience, but I think it's an enriching experience for
Hmm.
players.
Hmm. And did you meet your wife when you were playing abroad?
No, we actually met in Orlando. So at some
Oh,
point, I was trying out for the Magic. This was before I came to Europe, and yeah, so we
okay.
met in Orlando.
Um, and so like, in facing retirement, like how did you navigate like the question of what was next for you?
Yeah, I mean, when I got that news, I remember I was just think, okay, let me, see, because I wanted to. I still had my heart into sports. I was trying to think like, okay, maybe there's opportunity to work in sports. This is what I've been doing for 10 years. It's kind of
Sure.
maybe the easiest thing you kind of
Yeah.
relate to. You feel like you can transition easily in that world.
Hmm.
So I explored it for a little bit. And then my family and I, we came back to the US shortly after I got the news in 2011. We moved to Chicago. So I basically for a year and a half, I was trying to figure out what I really want to do. So I still had the medical school, and for some reason, I decided to take the MCAT after studying for 3 months.
Uh-huh.
So that was interesting. It was the most stressful thing I ever done, and um, yeah, I looking to get into a couple of schools, but I needed to probably spend more time and be more prepared
Sure.
for that. So then I thought, oh, I don't know, it's another 10 years of school. I have two kids. I have one
Yeah.
kid, one on the
Not an easy
way.
task.
Is it gonna be an easy path? then I had other interests. I had always interest in finance and especially so I reached out to a former professor of mine at Georgetown and kind of was just talking to him to get his advice. And he said, "Hey, there is a master degree in applied mathematics and statistics that started at Georgetown. I didn't have that department of statistics when I was there, when we were there."
Yeah.
And because I was telling him about that, I wanted me to look at financial mathematics. I was looking into Chicago, who had that program. But he basically talked me into going back to Georgetown and doing
Hmm.
this program, which was going to give me a wider field of possibility of what I wanted to do. Could have done financial mathematics or data science or any
Right.
other of yeah area. So and obviously it was Georgetown, kind of familiar with Georgetown.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I applied for the program and I'm going to DC. But yeah, it did take me a good a year and a half to
Hmm.
kind of figure it out.
Yeah. And then from there, did you go straight into finance? Because I know at some point you also like were a scout for the Sixers,
Yeah.
76ers, and assistant general manager. Like, what did that path look like?
Yeah, no, from there I got hired after the program by Siemens in
Hmm.
Orlando, and I worked as a data scientist for about a year or so, and then I was asked to move into a strategy role,
Okay.
digital strategy role with the company, still looking at some data company and stuff like that in data product.
Was that crazy to
Um,
suddenly be like in an office environment?
Yes, it was obviously totally new, interesting, kind of the routine, right, of most people.
Yeah,
So that was a bit of an adjustment as well.
sure.
Um, but yeah, but it went fine. And then there was opportunity to go to the Sixers. They were looking for somebody actually who knew data science and knew some basketball. And so
Perfect.
I said it just seems like it was the perfect situation. So yeah, I sent my resume and got offered a job not long after. So that I also there started working as a data scientist in the beginning, but then they wanted me to do both data science and scouting since I had a
Hmm.
basketball background, and then it became more doing scouting
Yeah,
and less data analytics,
yeah. And how
which
did
I
it feel
totally
like
enjoyed.
suddenly to be on the other side in scouting?
Yeah, no, it was good. It's a very interesting world to me. It's people views, right, of players and potential
Yeah,
players.
very
And
subjective.
yeah, it's very interesting to see on that side how people perceive player, how you can or cannot be drafted just based on somebody's opinion that may be right or wrong. Like you don't
Hmm.
know, right?
Yeah,
But it kind of inform me also what the professional decision maker are looking for, right? The type of skill they're looking for, the type of play or character they're looking for. And I think to me, it gives you a good sense of what the players really is not just about skills, right? It's also about who you are
yeah.
and what how you can affect
A team.
a company if you're
Yep,
not like a good person, right?
sure.
So your team
Absolutely.
spend a lot of money on a lot of time on data intelligence gathering because you want to know who you're
Hmm.
bringing into your company. So you learn that side and you learn how serious it is, and team have psychologists and all these people who trying to draw things that everybody trying to get an edge and in that word. So it was good. I really love it. It's a lot of work, but it's easy when you love it because you watch
Yeah,
game and you analyze players, you're trying to value, trying to see what the potential it can become. So yeah, so I spent some time there doing that. And yeah, and then COVID came and kind of changed my world and everybody's world. So I had to, yeah, so I can move on from the Sixers and because I was saying we wanted to do something with finance, I had a friend of mine who was working for a financial company with athletes. So I just thought, okay, let me kind of also go in that space is something, that interests me. And I did that for about a year and a half before um, the NBA came calling again,
Hmm.
which they've done before. So
And you were an assistant general manager at some point in between that
yeah,
as well,
yeah, I
right?
was yeah. So with the Sixers, my second year, I got promoted to be assistant GM of our G League team.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that was also, yeah, it was trying to help him manage the team and scouting also, still
Hmm.
for the first team and for that team, and trying to put a team together and trading players and trying to figure all this stuff. So also a very interesting job. Um, but yeah, and at the time I actually thought, yeah, I think this is my comfort level. I just hopefully this take me all the way to GM of teams. And but I said to somebody recently, you make plans and then God laughs at you. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's so interesting because went like obviously through a basketball career and then you ended up in an office position and then back to basketball and then back to like financial advising. But I'm curious, like, why or what do you think in terms of like financial literacy, for young players, especially, but like professional athletes? Because now you've kind of experienced yourself like the full scope of, both basketball and then having kind of the math background and then also even being like a financial advisor, like any advice in terms like of how important financial literacy is for kind of young athletes.
yeah, I think what I found I was when it comes to finance and money, I think a lot of athletes, at least those are the people I was dealing the most with, are not curious enough. It's almost like not a taboo subject. I think they're afraid of talking or thinking about it because they're not
Hmm.
comfortable. They really don't know
Yeah,
or want to know. So a lot of athletes would trust someone, right? It could be the father, it could be the agent, it could be somebody else to handle the finance,
yeah,
right? And you probably have heard stories of all these athletes who get ripped off and all that kind of
sure.
stuff.
Yeah, happens all the
Um,
time.
yeah, so when I was in that word, what I try to do with some of my colleagues is like, like push them to ask question. Like you have to know. Like, yes,
Be
maybe you
curious.
trusting your father, but you have to know at least the basic, right? Like where is your money? Where is your money being invested, right?
Hmm.
Like you can put on your phone, you can look at those things because you will be amazed about how many of them don't. Like they
Yeah.
really don't. They don't know how much they actually have invested or in their account. They just kind of spend. So we're really trying to educate them, and I think it's really, to me, it's really, really important because I think and it's not just basketball players, it's everything in general. It's really anybody who works to gain, to make a good living or to save money or whatever. I think the idea that somebody has taken advantage of them doesn't sit well with me, and especially
Hmm.
with athletes who they can make so much money so early at a
Yeah,
young age, and
super young.
there's a line of people there looking
Waiting.
to see how. So, to me, financial literacy is extremely important. I think I know a lot has been done by a lot of different organizations, even some schools, but I think a lot more need to be done, and I'm sure
Mhm.
people are looking to do it. But because imagine a kid who God forbid there's injury, his career is over soon, and then he has nothing, right? Everything he worked for, he
Yeah,
has nothing, and then what is next, right? A lot of time, what is next for a lot of former athlete is trying to be a coach, right, in whatever sports they've done. And then
hmm,
you realize it's not an easy thing. Everybody trying to be a coach, right?
sure,
There's
yeah.
not that many opportunity, or so a lot of time they find themselves not having great second option
Hmm.
if they cannot get into the sports. And then you hear all the stories of they going broke and all these things that happen. So
And on the
So
outside, you're like, how could they go broke? Like, but
yeah,
it can so easily happen.
very, very easy happen. Usually people around them, it's
Yep.
families members, is this or that person that they trust, that um yeah, they trust with the investment, they don't even know what those investment are. So for me, it's really, I would say you don't need to be an expert as an athlete in finance or investment, but you need to ask questions. You
Yeah.
do
Be
need to
curious.
ask, you have to be curious. You have to know, like, how much do I have? I know this is how much I'm making, explain, how much you're losing in taxes.
Yep.
Where is your money going? Your day-to-day living? How's your money growing? You can, this is very easily accessible. Any financial institution will have that on your phone, so you at
Mm-hmm.
least can track it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then you can ask questions when things don't make sense to you.
Right.
And I mean that's extremely important for all athletes, really,
Yeah.
to do that.
So you mentioned that NBA was calling, so you're now like the head of league operations for the Basketball Africa League. So, for those that don't know, like what does that role entail and like what excites you most about its mission and growth?
Yeah, so the NBA created the first professional league as a United States in 2019 in Africa. It's called the Basketball African League. Um, we finished the fifth season last year, as season six starting next year. So I am the head of league operation, which maybe in one word, I would say I'm in charge of making sure games happen. Uh, which behind that is dealing with teams and dealing
Yeah,
with
so
everything
much.
administrative around that. Yeah, it's a lot of work behind the scene, right? Just
Hmm.
to be able to have a game on a basketball court.
Hmm.
But that's essentially my role to as short I can put this. It's a very exciting project, for us, because it's a platform that has the possibility really to change so many players' life, affect their family life, the
Yeah.
community, change the economy of a lot of the community, even some of those countries, right? Because still to some extent, at least basketball is not thought in terms of like a sports economy in
Hmm.
Africa. We're still lacking a lot of infrastructure. Just outside of, we still lacking like, coaching, and there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of raw talent that need to be polished, but the entire economy around basketball has not been really created in
Right.
Africa. This is what we're trying to do in
Hmm.
Africa, and it's not easy. It won't be
Yeah.
easy,
I mean, you're
but I think,
shaping like the future of basketball
yeah,
on the continent that you're from, which is not an
right,
easy
yeah.
task.
It's not an easy task, and really that's what motivated me, and the passion, and all my colleagues here, is having the privilege to be part of this project,
Hmm.
which can impact so many community, and in the long term, so many economy around Africa. So I couldn't say no to be part of it, and we're working very hard at it, and hopefully we're gonna be successful. Yeah.
So I'm just thinking of like 14, 15-year-old you who is picking up a basketball for the first time for a game that was not necessarily popular like with your peers. And now you're part of actually like gaining popularity and creating infrastructure for a game when you were younger just didn't exist in that same way. Any thoughts from your dad now when you're talking to him about basketball? Like, has he come full circle, or your parents, and like, that you're academically still using, your master's, but you're kind of in some ways a startup in your home country or continent.
Yeah, no, it is a startup. my parents, my father unfortunately passed away a few years ago, but I
Mhm.
think um he will, yeah, he will, he will probably say, I'm glad that kid was stubborn. I think that's what he will say. And my mom is, yeah, obviously she's proud. And I think, my family really, my siblings, all of them. Like I said, it kind of come, I know it's full circle, but yeah, like a 14-year-old, 15-year-old, like 15-year-old me picking up a basketball court and today being part of a project that potentially will impact the continent in so many ways profoundly. No, I could never imagine.
Yeah.
I just my journey, I would say I could never imagine my journey.
Hmm.
With everything that went on or still going on, the ups and down. It's just not something that you can design, right?
Yeah.
Like, things, it happens to me. It's like it's just a blessing. And I a lot of time I try as much as I can to self-reflect when
Hmm.
things don't go well and
Yeah.
just appreciate
Yep.
what I have or have had or what I'm doing, put in perspective and yeah, so it's really a life of thankfulness,
Hmm.
appreciation, and yeah, I hope I continue to get the opportunity to build and trying to impact this league, and we'll see what the future holds. But yeah, it's a great passion project of mine.
Hmm. So what we haven't talked about yet is probably a job that takes so much of your time as well, but you are a father of four. How has that impacted you, being, I'm not sure if any of them, I think we talked, some of them play sports, but, what has that meant to you in kind of reevaluating your own journey? Like you said, you just could have never imagined that it would be kind of this full circle moment. How has it shaped you as kind of a father with children who have their own dreams, right? And you knowing that your path kind of led you in different ways, but ultimately in a place of gratefulness, of, being able to use what you've learned and your skills and passions now into a career. How has being a father kind of shaped you and any advice that you'd give others who are kind of, it's a tough time being a parent now, I think, the world can be so vast in different ways that our kids can kind of grow. How has fatherhood kind of shaped you now? And any advice that you tend to give your children as they look to their own paths?
Yeah, for me, fatherhood is taught me to be. If I thought I was patient, it taught me to be even more patient.
Yes. It gets tested in all
Is
sorts
is
of ways.
is definitely testing. My oldest is 16. My youngest is 6. So,
Full spread.
yeah,
And it's two girls, two boys, right?
I have two boys. The two oldest are boys, 16 and 13, and the girls are 10 and 6. So yeah, they've taught me that yeah, if I like I say, if I was patient, I needed to be 10x patient. But it also helps me a lot, like just you know, put my life in perspective and see what matters really.
Yeah,
Like what really matters is them. And for my wife and I, it's our kids. Everything we do
absolutely.
at this point is, it's just how can we best help them, right?
Hmm.
Navigate this world, trying to achieve their own dream.
Hmm.
Like you said, that my two boys play basketball and the girls are doing tennis and dance and gymnastics and everything, they do.
Yeah.
They have their own dream and we're just trying the best that we can as parents to provide them with what is necessary.
Hmm.
With everything, like you say, they grow in a different world than we did.
Hmm.
We didn't have social,
Oh
so,
gosh. I'm
the
so
social
grateful.
whatever world, which I'm still not part of.
Yeah.
still not part of that world, and is but they are part of that world, at least want to be part of that world. So is we trying to figure how do we help them navigate that in a safe way,
Hmm.
hopefully, knowing they have to grow and they have to make their own decisions. So we're just trying as best as we can to shape them with what we value in our lives that we want to transfer to them, that is his value.
Absolutely.
We want to infuse them with, some like work ethic, right? Like, just like working for things and appreciating others. Like the maybe the one of the biggest thing that happened to my life is just going from Cameroon to the US is being exposed to people from so many cultures,
Hmm.
and which is made the biggest thing to me, and we want our kids kind of like to also experience that and
Yes.
see appreciate other culture. Today, they live in Spain,
Mhm.
they've grew up in the US, they've been to Africa,
Yeah, it's wonderful.
and so we want them to realize that in this world, people are come from different culture, different faction, but most people are good. They just want to have a good life, work hard, take care of their
Hmm.
families, do whatever good hobby they have. We want them to appreciate that. We want them also to have a sense of they have to work for what they want in life and that nothing comes
Right.
easy.
Yep.
Nothing is given to them. So those are in our belief, from a Christian perspective. So we want to infuse all of that to them, and we can just hope and pray that
Hmm.
they grow up to
Hope
be
and pray.
yeah, they make the right decision in the future for themselves and work hard and hopefully accomplish many things in life. That's
Mhm.
all we can hope for.
So, last but not least, it's always how I love to end an episode. But I wanted to ask you if you could go back and talk to your young self. So, any age could be the first time you grabbed a basketball, could be on that really long flight to Georgetown or to DC. At any point, like what advice, like knowing what you know now, knowing how your journey has evolved, like what advice would you give your young self if you could today?
Wow. Um, I would probably say a lot of things that you think matters don't.
Yeah.
That you cannot have the perfect plan. Just put your head down, work hard, dream big, work hard, and um, wherever things fall, as long as you give your best, and have no regret,
Hmm.
um, that's it. You should be satisfied. That's where things were meant to be.
Yep.
Don't over stress or stress about a lot of things that you wanted, maybe that you didn't get.
Hmm.
Um, just do the best that you can with with the objective of having no regret, right?
Yeah.
And how things work out, that's how they work out. And yeah, in a big scheme, a lot of things won't matter at the end.
Hmm.
The thing that will matter really be the life that you're gonna build, um, with your family or your
Yeah.
friends.
Well, that's great advice. And, I really hope that our listeners today really have learned so much. Your journey has been one that I've long admired. I've always just been dumbfounded how you were able to do all of that in college at such a young age, which is where I met you. But also just to kind of watch your career really kind of blossom over the years, all in the backdrop of also raising four children, which is not an easy task, in the least.
Kudos
And
to my wife mostly
yeah.
for the
Shout
kids.
out to the wife, but and to be, to have to travel, in order to do that for your family too. So, I'm just so grateful that you shared kind of your journey with me today. And I really look forward to see how it continues to evolve.
Yeah, thank you. It was great chatting, having
Yeah.
this discussion. So it's been great seeing you.
Yeah, good to see you too.